Hello, good to see you all. I am Christy Lemire from RogerEbert.com and the Breakfast All Day YouTube channel and podcast, and you just saw the best movie of the year. I'm so thrilled you're all here. A bunch of folks that I want you to meet and they get to chat with. We'll have some questions from you all as well. We have Yorgos Lanthimos here. Emma Stone is here. Mark Ruffalo is here.
Thank you.
Willem Dafoe is here. And you get Ramy Youssef today.
Thank you.
Ramy's new to these, you guys, so be nice to him.
I love you. I love you.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I know you were in Palm Springs doing all this yesterday, so thank you for joining me today. So Yorgos, one thing I love about your films is that quite often there's this really fascinating kind of push-pull between the way people behave outlandishly and the pristine kind of genteel setting, the way they should behave. What is it about that tension that you like?
The tension, basically. I don't know, like I think the world is full of contradictions and we are full of contradictions and, you know, I guess drama is driven by that. And it's an interesting thing to explore. So I guess it somehow finds way into the work.
And Emma, this reunites you with Yorgos after The Favorite. What sort of shorthand do you guys have now working together again?
We started talking about this right after The Favorite, and then in the interim, we talked about it all the time. But we also made a short film in Greece during that, and we just know each other very well. So it's I think probably the most integral piece of playing Bella or of being part of this film is my relationship with him.
What's a Yorgos Lanthimos set like? Anyone?
Your
Hi, Willem. Oh my God, you guys, silence your phones. Well, now I'm gonna make you answer now, Willem,
Yeah.
for that. So,
Oh,
what's a
you go.
Yorgos Lanthimos set
Sorry,
like?
I was distracted. I'm sorry. Tell me, what was the question?
I think you answered it. We're good. I was gonna say, what is a Yorgos Lanthimos
There are
set
no phones
like?
on the set.
What is a...
A Yorgos-
Oh, Jesus, don't make fun of me. They always turn me into like the eccentric uncle or something.
You do it to yourself.
Yeah,
We really don't do anything.
because that's sort of my role. The set is really fluid. I'm a guy that likes to hang out on the set. And this set, when you arrive, there's so much to see. There's so much to do. It was an important part into getting settled into the role because the level of detail is extraordinary. So it's so detailed, it kind of tells you what to do, and there's nothing familiar. It's all very specific. So it's really helps you to come to it and have a period that have an imagination that doesn't rely on necessarily your experience, but it's a leap into another world. And when that happens, it gives you a certain kind of energy that is extraordinary. And then we had rehearsals before, and Yorgos is really good at making a company. And everybody was cool. I mean, when we arrived there, you know, sorry, I'm going on, but it was a sweet set, okay?
So Yorgos, what was it about this book, this Alistair Gray book, that told you you had to adapt it?
Well, for me, it was the main character, Bella Baxter. Like, I hadn't written anything like her, and I completely fell in love with her immediately, like the rest of the characters. And it was, you know, obvious to me that somehow we would have to try and bring her to life. I mean, it was, I knew it was going to be challenging and, you know, quite scary to do it, but it was the main reason that I was attracted to the book. And of course, you know, the premise of it, and you know, the story, the other characters, the world around it, the atmosphere, the humor in it. It's a very rich novel overall. So yeah, I was surprised that it wasn't already made into a film before, because it was written in the 90s. So yeah.
And then Emma, when you first read this character of Bella Baxter, what did you think?
We had spoken a bit about it, but I don't think I read Tony's script for like 2 years from after we first started talking about the film. So there was a lot of build up, and I was just completely, I guess in the same way he's saying in love with her, I was totally in love with her and her, you know, sense of the world, the way that she is interested in everything that happens to her, the good, the bad. She holds it all with equal weight, and there is nobody like her because she's inventing herself from scratch. So I was, I felt the same. Ditto.
And I can imagine it's sort of a fun challenge too, because she's so distinct in every single stage of her evolution, and yet there's also a through line, a continuity, a sense of adventure, of curiosity. So how did you balance those two things in creating the role?
In a very kind of literal sense, we tried to stage out her development for kind of like stages 1 through 5 of how she's evolving, but then, you know, on a daily basis while we were shooting it, things would kind of change or develop because of the actors and what we were seeing. And I think, like you've talked about this, Willem, a little bit, some of the things, like the relationship between Baxter and Bella, I don't know if we fully understood until we were doing it, the layers that would, kind of make themselves known, you know, and then obviously the way that Mark is playing Duncan, you know, she just, it's amazing.
You didn't imagine it like that?
You know, you really add a whole beautiful layer to him. That I do think, you know, Duncan on the page was so kind of like pathetic and toxic and all of these things, but then Mark is so the antithesis of that as a person, that his sort of innate empathy and lovability comes through whether he wants it to or not. That's an insult, by the way. You should have really lost yourself in a character. No, I think it's like the best casting ever, because he for whatever reason, you still want to like wrap your arms around him, even though he's behaving so badly, and which is incredible. Like it takes it to a whole other level than it would have been if, you know, Duncan was just what you maybe assumed when you read it on the page. Same thing with Ramy. Like Ramy has that innate lovability too, and the way that Max develops and his openness to her experience. Anyway, so as we were shooting it, all of that sort of developed, you know, beyond the stages that we had come up with for the walk, or the way her language develops, and yeah.
So Mark, this was the most fun I've ever seen from you. This was a hilarious performance. I've never seen you do this before.
You haven't?
No, I mean, in my private
you
fantasy.
seen some of my stuff?
Foxcatcher.
I mean,
Foxcatcher.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But how freeing was it for you to play this totally different role from anything we've ever seen before? What was it like for you?
It was freeing. It was just a blast. You know, you sort of build a career, and you get pigeonholed a little bit by just doing things that you would always normally do. Then people begin to just see you as that. And Emma and Yorgos, thankfully, I'm so grateful that they saw me doing this and believed that I could do it, even when I didn't totally believe I could do it. So that's rare.
How did you find this quality that Emma's referring to, where he's awful and narcissistic and he's a man baby, but he's also kind of sweet? Like, how did you find that balance there?
wait. Well, no, because this is the funniest thing. The rehearsals were so free and comfortable, and Mark was making us laugh so much, but then Willem would lean over and he's like, this is really funny, but I wonder how he's actually gonna do it. And then after the first day, Willem was like, oh, it's that.
Yeah, I remember Willem come up to me, he's like, okay. Okay.
You see, they gang up on me.
No, we don't. We
We
love
love
you
you,
so
Billy.
much. I do remember Willem and I made another movie with Yorgos last fall, and he had just seen Four Things for the first time, and he was like, you know that Mark, I really didn't think that was what he was going to do in rehearsals. And you know what? He did exactly what he was going to do, what he did in rehearsals, and it fucking worked. He was like, unbelievable. That's crazy.
And then Ramy, you would crack me up with just the look on your face, just the reaction shots to you, or the way you say the word, what? You are us, you are our conduit. So, and you're also like the source of wisdom and warmth in this really weird world. So how did you find that tone there?
It was just playing off of who I was with. I mean, getting to work next to Willem and Emma, it's such a gift, and I think it was a different thing for me to do, but the greatest thing on the set is actually how confident Yorgos is. I mean, I think from the set direction it was the most confident energy I'd ever been around, and so you just feel this level of trust of he's gonna tell you if it's not working, and so you just experience it and live it. You don't really worry about it. So I felt there was just no self-monitoring, and I just got to watch what Emma was doing, what Willem was doing, and I got to have a fun scene with Mark, and so that was really cool. And he'll tell you if it, like, there was one moment where we did a scene and Yorgos came up to me and I was like, oh, I'm getting a note, and he was like, did you like what you did? And I said, no. And then he walks away, and then Willem comes up and he just goes, that's a really good answer, kid. And then you just guess how to do it better, and I think that's cool too, because it's like, he really shows you how to fish. He's not gonna give you the fish, like, you gotta figure it out.
Can I say one thing? I never called you kid. And second, Ramy was kind of the coolest and the most confident person on the set, to my mind.
I agree, and also Yorgos would always shoot Ramy last because he knew he could just get it in like one take. So it always would be like, all right, it's Ramy's turn. All right, he got it. We're moving on.
But to the point where I was like, oh, I'm getting cut out. Like I felt like he had assessed at some point that it wasn't working. And the film has so many pieces. I was like, I see how this could just all be on the boat. I was like, you don't want me to try it a different way? And he was like, we've got things to do. So I was probably more excited than anyone here watching the film. I was like, oh, I'm in it.
Why did we show you the final version?
The director's cut.
Oh, by the way, also part of what contributed to my feeling, this is not insecurity, you kept saying, enjoy these months while people think you're gonna be in the film. He was like, call your agents, this is the best moment of your life, because they think you're in it, but once it comes out, that's not gonna be good.
Mark and Emma, I have to ask you about the dance sequence. Because the dance sequence is like the whole movie in a microcosm, right? Like, she's out there letting her freak flag fly, and she's feeling good about herself, and he's like, oh, no, you must come dance to my rhythm now and do my moves. So I want to hear about how it all worked, blocking and practicing and all that stuff with the dance sequence.
Well, we brought in a choreographer that had an idea of how it was going to start, and Yorgos would say, I don't like that. No, not that part. And then we'd rework it, and then Emma and I would try some of it and improvise some of it a little bit. And it was probably like 20 minutes long originally.
It only felt 20 minutes long. I think it was like 3 minutes long. But we had to learn all of our moves.
We learned it all, and then it was cut down to 30 seconds.
Is that all it is 30 seconds?
How long long is
It's
it?
How long
indelible.
is it? A minute?
Maybe a minute? It was longer.
Which
Before-
I thought I was doing really good until the other night when Yorgos turned to me and said, "You're a terrible dancer." But then he said, "But that's why you're good."
He also said you could do anything.
And then he said to me, looked me in the eyes and said, "And you can do anything.
That's true. You got to earn it with him. You know?
You gotta earn it."
No, but it was so much fun. We shot it. So I mean, like 60 takes of it, or something, all different angles and things. And I think it is, like you're saying, the microcosm. I think what's interesting about Bella in that moment, or in her sexuality, is like her, you know, her way of walking or moving is very specific. But when she's just in her body and not thinking about how to, you know, access the world, whether that's dance or sex or whatever that may be, food, she sort of gets to be different than she is in the other realms, or at least in my understanding of her. I don't know if that came through. But it's really, and then he comes in with that kind of like thing that Duncan is, and it is their relationship in a nutshell throughout that dance, which is beautiful. And Yorgos loves dance so much, I think, because of that, because you can sort of say so much without saying.
I love the costume design. It's gorgeous, right? It's so imaginative. I almost wore cut sleeves today for the occasion. So as she evolves, like the clothes get wilder and more elaborate. Like, how did the clothes help you find the character of each stage of Bella?
Oh, I mean, so it was a huge part of that. We've first talked. Well, it was a long process and kind of piecing things together before we got to Budapest, and Holly Waddington, our costume designer, is just so brilliant, and the level of the level of detail in every department was immense. But her fabrics and the way that she was piecing things together, and in the beginning, I think she talks a lot about Bella's being dressed by Mrs. Prim, and so she's kind of put together in a different way, or she's in this like white silk robe at home, and then when she goes out on her own and she's putting herself together, and she's wearing just like a bottom and a top and a hat because she's traveling, and that's her way of getting dressed. And then it sort of gets more structured as she, evolves and presents herself differently to the world. And it was a huge part of it. And I think the wedding dress is the most beautiful thing I've ever worn.
But like the shorts and the jacket are so chic. It looks like, oh, I just threw it all together, but it's impossibly stylish.
That's Holly. Holly did that.
Yorgos, I want to ask you about the cinematography, about working with Robbie Ryan, and the choice of going from black and white to the rich, gorgeous color. What was your hope in changing back and forth between those two? What did you hope to invoke with that?
Well, the black and white, I kind of surprised everyone with that. Because they, especially the production design team and the costumes, I told them like a week, I think, before we started filming, I think we're gonna do the first part in black and white. It's good that you put in so much texture in the in the sets and the costumes. But we were already, from the prep, we tested black and white because my idea was to do just the flashbacks in black and white, and the rest of it in color, and some of it is shot in color negative film, and some of it is shot in Ektachrome, which is a reversal positive film. But when we did the tests, we quite liked the black and white, and seeing the world like that. And then it occurred to me that it would be interesting to see, her in that world before she starts her journey in black and white, and then when she starts her journey, it's like just a splash of an explosion of color all of a sudden. But also the fact that you see those moments, those flashes of color while you're watching the black and white part in the beginning, which is the reanimation, and that part of it, which was shot on Ektachrome, and it's like very colorful and contrasty, and the contrast that it has with the black and white stuff. And then you get to experience the world, her house, when she returns after her journey, you get to experience it in color too. So that kind of gives it a different dimension. So I thought, I kind of thought of these things, I guess, quite late in the process, but I mean, it's never too late, I guess. So we did a lot of tests. With Robbie, we've worked together on The Favorite, and now we've shot another film together, and we just develop this language, and we choose our tools and try to set some rules so we're not lost while we're filming. And we know that we have these, 4 lenses, this camera, this stock, or whatever. On the camera moves this way. But then we don't prepare much else. We just want to be on the day there with the actors and see them in the space and try things before we decide how we're going to film each scene. So we have this kind of freedom and just figure out mostly with the performances and the presence of the actors. And we also don't have any lights on set. Like we always try to light everything from outside, and this was shot in a studio. Almost 90% of the film is shot in a studio. It's all built sets, even the exteriors. There's like one in the park, and the scene in the park, and the dance scene was in an actual location. Although that was actually built, we just kept the ceiling of that. So most of it is built in a studio, and we managed to light everything from outside the sets or from the ceiling. So we didn't have any gear around, and we were just free to just keep filming with the actors, no matter what, no moving things around. So that is something that we appreciate while we're filming, not to have a lot of stuff around. And create an intimate atmosphere just with the actors, and Robbie operates the camera himself, so there's not too many people on set.
Set design is so rich and so detailed that I'm sure it really helps to create the mood, right? The lab especially.
Yeah, I mean, I would wander in my library, and I could go to the bookshelf and take a book out and open it up, and there were like surgical diagrams in there specific to our imagined period. There was that kind of level. That was one of the nice things about hanging out on the set. And the shooting had a very kind of leisurely pace, I would say. The energy of people in preparation and shooting, there wasn't that much difference. It was kind of steady all the time. So it was really nice to hang out on the set and then be doing these things, looking at stuff, playing with objects, things like that. And then, okay, we got to shoot. You get in place and you start to shoot. And there wasn't that much difference. So you were settled in. There wasn't that kind of dramatic action, and you show your guns, In fact, the AD, Hailey, she used to say, rather than action, she would say, off you go.
Or, and go.
Yeah, we've banned action from.
That was for years.
There's no action, there's no marks, there's no, he doesn't, you don't have that. What are you guys talking about?
You.
Like what type of stuff?
Again.
Yorgos does not like having marks or saying action or any of that, so it feels kind of like a fluid. You go from, rolling into whatever is going to happen.
It sounds helpful as far as like putting you in the mood, putting you in the headspace, as opposed to like the startling element of it.
Also, something is definitely wrong with me because I've never hit a mark in my life. So to know that there's no marks, I mean, they usually sandbag me if I have a mark, which is like I walk in and go, hi, to hit it.
And I'm the most inappropriately named actor in the world because I've never hit a mark. But it was, because that wasn't happening, you always felt free, How was that, Ramy?
Ask Yorgos.
Not good?
Did you like that joke?
I got a little chuckle.
Everyone liked.
But not having the mark, not having that, all of a sudden you're like, well, I could do anything in this take. I can,
We noticed.
Never mind.
This take, in every take, I could do anything. which was very helpful for the outcome.
A couple more that I want to open up. Willem, I want to ask you about the prosthetics, about the makeup, and how long that transformation took, and how that helped you get where you needed to be. Along with the books in the lab, the makeup did a lot, I'm sure.
It does. It helps a lot. I mean, I've said it many times, but you know, you sit in the chair for hours, and you see yourself recede, and something else come forward, and that becomes a really fruitful time to kind of relax into this thing that you're going to be. That's not you anymore. It's a very literal mask, and you can have different behavior when you look and feel differently. And that's beautiful for an actor, because it's like a permission and a protection for you to jump off into something that's not you, so you're sort of free, and you can apply yourself in a way that's not restricted by impulses, you know, or constructing something that you're trying to say. You get involved in the experience of dealing with the language, dealing with the people, dealing with the things that you're doing. So that's great. It took a while, and you can't sleep or anything, so you basically meditate and, you know, think about it's going to be over soon. No, it's, you know, you embrace it. It's something you need to do, because it's a beautiful thing to have. And once you get in that look, yeah, you feel differently, so it gives you a leg up. Plus, you have early calls in the morning, so you're there, and by the time you're all done, you're dressed and everything. I also had body prosthetics, which made you move differently, and the costumes were very useful that way as well. So you've got all these things that you could see as restrictions, but they're actually triggers. They're actually things that let you leap off into something else. But you're there in the morning, and by the time everyone else is arriving, you know, with coffee and just kind of figuring out the day, you're like set to go. So it's a good feeling, you know.
How long did it take each day to get into it?
In the end, I think it was 3 hours in, and then on the end of the day, it was 2 hours out. But they scheduled it so, you know, when I shot, I really shot, so that was helpful.
And I wanted to ask you about the totally inspired casting of Gerard Carmichael and Hannah Shigula. I love that part of the movie. I want to go hang out with them on the road. How cool was that? So where did the idea come to cast those two as the traveling companions?
Generally, I just like to try and work with people that I like and I admire their work, and so, you know, Gerard was someone like that, and we just met at some point, and I had also just seen the movie he directed that I really liked, and he's in it with Chris Abbott, by the way, who's great in the film as well. And yeah, we just met, and you know, we got along, and I just said, like, why don't we just do this little thing together, just to, you know, just to spend time together and be creative. And so I think that that's the way I try to, you know, cast everyone, if it makes sense. Like, we don't have like detailed descriptions in the script about what the characters look like, or there are some just for people to be able to, you know, follow the story when they're reading. But when it comes to casting, I like to be very free about it, and just, you know, work again with the same people or some people that I'm looking forward to work with. So casting decisions are a lot about that. And, you know, and then Hannah is like, you know, an icon, and, you know, she's, you know, bigger than in life, and it just felt, you know, right for her to be in there.
I love when she hands Bella the book. Here you go. All right, who has questions? Right here, please.
Hi guys, thanks for coming out. I was going to ask, what's like a fun memory that you have on set? Just like a good one.
No bad ones.
They're mostly good memories to me.
Ramy can think of something.
Ramy, come on. Ramy's so good at this.
No, I don't know if I have a fun. I actually had a kind of a sad one.
Ramy.
No, it was just like, I was thinking about when we were talking about no lights, I think, and none of the set wasn't this set with like a lot of gear. And I just remember us leaving and knowing it was gonna get torn down, and it felt really wrong. And I just remember us all looking at it, and like, Yorgos looked like genuinely emotional. It was really sweet. Like he was like, I'm sad. and that made me happy.
I saw him cry. I saw him cry when the set was being torn down, and he insists to this day it was the wind. Was it the wind?
It was the wind, and then I played a part. There were tears, so I went like, well, why don't I take advantage of that? And they think I'm very emotional.
Sorry, that wasn't as much of a fun one, but you know, it bonded us.
Heartfelt. Yes, right here, please.
Hi guys, I have a question for Emma. Emma, you said in an interview recently that you think acting should be fun. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're playing pretend. This seemed like the most fun you've ever had in a role. Is that true?
That's completely true. Yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Very efficient. Right here, please, in the hat.
Hi, this is for Emma. That was an awesome movie. How did you come up with the walk? How did that develop?
Yorgos and I came up with the walk during rehearsals. We had these group rehearsals, but then we sort of had individual ones because we did need to, like I was saying earlier, the stages. So because if we needed to shoot out of sequence, which we basically only did at the beginning at Baxter's house, there were 5 stages and we shot stage 1 and 5, so her beginning and then her most evolved point. So we sort of worked on how her walk would develop, and also her language with Tony. If there were things, Tony McNamara, our writer, sorry. If there were things that didn't make sense as much when we were reading through it in terms of her evolution, or some of that changed a little bit with her language. So the walk and the language sort of went in tandem, but that was just us kind of like playing around and seeing what felt, interesting. Yeah.
Over here, please. Yes, hello.
Hi everyone. First off, my name is Naveen Shatta. I'm an actor here in Los Angeles, and congratulations on your tremendous work, really. Yorgos, I'm a huge fan of you. The Favorite is one of my all-time favorite movies. Emma, you're incredible. You guys, I grew up with you guys. My question is for Ramy Youssef. أهلا وسهلا. تشرفنا بحضرتك. I wanted to ask you, you have a background of producing a lot of successful self-work. I wanted to know, what did you take from this Poor Things experience that you've made it a point to create in your own, to use in your future work?
Thank you for the question. It was just really hard to hear that question without looking over at Yorgos. It was just the most, seeing Yorgos' confidence, seeing his precision with everything is just incredibly inspiring. And, he's the kind of director that knows how to talk to every actor in the way that they really need to be. So it's obviously that's, again, really inspiring to be around. And it does, TV is so fast. And I think there's something really, not that this isn't fast, but again, like the precision and all of that and the specificity, yeah, very inspiring. And Yorgos is, the best, and was my truly, when I had seen The Favorite, it had been the best movie I'd seen in forever, and then to get the call from him was crazy. And I thought it was for one scene, and I was like, I called my mom. I was like, I'm gonna be in one scene, and I read the thing, and I was like, oh wait, this is really cool.
I think we have time for one more. Let's get somebody in the back. Ryan, I hate to make you work, wherever you are. There you are. Let's get somebody in the back. Yes, that's good.
Thanks so much. I was curious about the thoughts on the music and how it sounds, like the specific sound.
Thank you for asking that.
Music, it's so hard to talk about it. What I can say, which is, I guess interesting, is that, well, first of all, this is Jerkin's first film score. He'd never written music for a film before. So he's a brilliant young composer. And
He was like 25 when he composed this.
yeah. So I listened to his first album, which is like a pop album, and I was very impressed because it's so different and unique and complex, and it has such diverse sound and so many different things. And I just instinctively thought that it would finally be someone that I could work with, because I also have never really used a composer before in my films. It's all pre-existing music that I've used. So the way we worked was that he actually composed the whole music before seeing one frame of the film. So we started early on, and it was basically also a bit of a tryout, because he had never done it before. I had never been successful before to work with a composer. So we said, like, why don't we just try things, start things, see how we can approach this and if it makes sense. And so he started sending me stuff, and I was completely blown away from the beginning. And then I would just respond to him like, this piece is interesting and this piece is interesting, but it had to be instinctive, because we hadn't shot anything. I just showed him the script, and I showed him a lot of the designs, the production design, the costumes, any reference that we had, but he had nothing else to go by. And then I would instinctively say, these three pieces make sense, and we'll probably need something faster. And he would just send me something faster. And then I'd say, well, we don't have anything, like very big and romantic, and like, why don't you do something like that? And he would just compose stuff. And we also progressively started out honing in on the sound. So in the beginning, it was much more wide. And then we started like figuring out what we thought was right for the film. And yeah, we did like 3-4 sessions of that. And then I had a library of music from him that I actually used while editing, which was the way that I worked before, but it was just me doing research and finding pieces. But now I had this original music that I could use while editing, and of course the lengths wouldn't be correct or anything, and I would just roughly edit them. But I think 95% of the music that is in the film is that music that he composed before watching a frame of the film, and then we just edited on the film. And actually I think it was one piece that he did after that we're missing. We said like, okay, we've got it all, and we're just missing this piece here. It was actually the most difficult for him to compose, because now he was watching the film and it started becoming too literal in a way. So it was much harder for us to figure out that piece than the rest of the music. And now we're working together on the next film we shot, and we work the same way, and he loves it too. He's like, don't show me anything, I don't want to see anything. I'll just do the music, and you respond to it. And I show him, because he visited the set in Budapest as well. He's in the film, actually. He's the guy that's blowing the horn in the dance scene with the green glasses. So he's in the film. So he just visited and saw the sets, and he got a sense of the atmosphere. And on the next one, I would just send him black and white pictures of the film, although the film is not black and white, that I shot. And he visited again the set in New Orleans where we shot, but he hadn't seen anything, and he's already composed the music, and we're using that. So he enjoys that kind of collaboration too. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Congrats to all of you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.